Welcome back to ZK Auto Reviews, where machines aren't just pieces of metal, they're living legends. Today, buckle up, because we're diving deep into a true icon of battlefield history. A machine born from the fiery lessons of World War II, refined through the crucible of the Korean War, and remembered with a reverence that few other tanks can command. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the mighty M46 Patton, a tank that didn't just roll across the battlefield, it roared onto the world stage. The story of the M46 Patton starts in a world desperately trying to heal after the devastation of World War II. America had emerged victorious, yes, but it quickly realized that its armored forces were aging relics compared to the emerging designs from Europe and, more importantly, the Soviet Union. The M26 Pershing, though a formidable force against German Tigers and Panthers in the final days of the war, revealed certain weaknesses. It was underpowered, its mobility lagged behind expectations, and it didn't fully embody the cutting-edge spirit the U.S. Army knew it needed to lead the next generation of armored warfare. Enter the 1940s. A new design wasn't just wanted, it was needed urgently. Thus began the project that would culminate in the M46 Patton, named, of course, after the legendary General George S. Patton, one of the greatest armored warfare tacticians the world has ever known. If ever a tank deserved a namesake with that kind of fiery spirit, it was this one. At first glance, the M46 bore a strong resemblance to the M26 Pershing, and that's no accident. It was, in fact, an evolution rather than a clean sheet design. But oh, what an evolution it was! The engineers set out with a clear mission: give this tank the heart and soul it deserved. The most significant upgrade: its power plant. The underwhelming 4GAF engine of the Pershing was yanked out and replaced with a new beast, the Continental AV1790-3 V12 air-cooled gasoline engine, pumping out a hearty 810 horsepower. And that power wasn't wasted, either. They paired it with an improved Allison CD850-1 cross-drive transmission, bringing better handling, smoother operation, and a responsiveness that was frankly night and day compared to the Pershing. With these changes, the M46 was no longer sluggish, it had become a predator, quicker on the draw, faster to respond, and significantly more reliable. Suddenly, America had a main battle tank that could meet the growing threat of Soviet T-34s and other Eastern Bloc machines head-on and win. Let's talk about firepower, because the M46 Patton didn't come to the party empty-handed. It was equipped with the same 90mm M3A1 gun that had proven effective on the Pershing, but with significant refinements. It offered greater muzzle velocity, improved penetration capabilities, and a higher overall reliability rate. Against the Soviet-built armor cropping up across the world, the M46's cannon was a force to be reckoned with, not to mention the secondary armament: a .50 caliber machine gun perched proudly atop the turret, and a coaxial .30 caliber machine gun beside the main gun, ensuring that the Patton could handle infantry threats just as easily as it could knock out enemy armor. Armor protection was another highlight. While it wasn't a massive leap forward in thickness compared to the Pershing, improvements in layout and metallurgy meant the M46 could shrug off hits that would have compromised earlier designs. It struck a beautiful balance between protection, firepower, and mobility, a trio that defines every great tank in history. Now, where the M46 Patton truly proved its mettle was on the battlefields of Korea. In 1950, North Korean T-34s stormed southward, leaving destruction in their wake. The early U.S. response with lighter tanks like the M24 Chaffee and even the M4 Shermans showed painfully quickly that they were outgunned and out-armored. The arrival of the M46 Patton on Korean soil was like a lightning strike: sudden, powerful, and decisive. M46s engaged T-34s in brutal tank battles across rugged, frozen terrain, and they did so with overwhelming success. The Patton's superior optics, better gun performance, and more reliable mechanical systems made it the premier tank of the conflict. It earned a reputation among U.S. crews as the savior of the battlefield. But what makes the M46 really fascinating is how it represents a transitional moment in armored warfare. It wasn't a radical departure from the past, nor was it a mere modernization. It was the bridge, a crucial link between the old world doctrines of World War II and the fast-evolving theories of Cold War-era combat. The lessons learned operating the M46 would go on to shape the designs of the M47, the M48, and eventually, the M60 tanks that would dominate U.S. armored forces for decades. Interestingly, despite its prowess, the M46 Patton never served extensively outside the Korean War. It remained largely within American service and saw limited export. But that hasn't diminished its legendary status. For tank enthusiasts and historians, the M46 is often considered the forgotten hero, overshadowed by the sheer fame of the Sherman and the later dominance of the M60, yet no less important in shaping the U.S. armored legacy. Climbing inside an M46 today, you're struck by how compact and purposeful everything feels. The gunner's station, the commander's seat, the loader's cramped but efficient workspace, it all speaks to a design meant for real-world conditions, not parade ground perfection. You can practically feel the presence of those young men who fought and lived inside these steel beasts, braving icy Korean winters, muddy battlefields, and the ever-present threat of anti-tank weapons. And let's not forget the M46 wasn't just a war machine, it was a morale booster. Soldiers nicknamed it Patton with pride, and its presence on the battlefield was a psychological weapon as much as a physical one. When you knew an M46 was rolling with your unit, you knew you had the baddest tank on the field backing you up. Mechanically, the M46 was a workhorse. Maintenance crews found it easier to repair than its predecessors, thanks in large part to better accessibility to engine components and smarter design choices. The upgraded transmission wasn't just more responsive, it also demanded fewer frantic roadside repairs, a blessing for any tank unit on the move. Today, surviving examples of the M46 can be found in museums and private collections, often lovingly restored to running condition. When you see one up close, you get a visceral sense of how far armored technology had come by the late 1940s, but also how much sheer craftsmanship and rugged spirit went into these machines. They were built not just to fight, but to endure. As a final note, one of the most charming facts about the M46 Patton is that it's one of the first American tanks to feature a distinct, recognizable tank mascot, the roaring tiger, painted on the front of some vehicles during the Korean War. It wasn't official, but it spoke volumes. The crews who manned the Pattons didn't just fight in them, they believed in them. They loved them. And today, here at ZK Auto Reviews, we celebrate that spirit, the marriage of engineering, battlefield necessity, and human courage. So there you have it, folks, the M46 Patton. A tank that roared into history with the heart of a lion and the punch of a sledgehammer. From the drawing boards of post-World War II America to the frozen battlefields of Korea, it left a mark that echoes through the halls of armored history. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the most fascinating tanks ever built, don't forget to subscribe to ZK Auto Reviews for more deep dives into legendary machines. Smash that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or your favorite military vehicle, and as always, keep your engines running and your passion for great machines alive. See you in the next one.